And welcome back, dear viewers. You know, perhaps because of such positive feelings, giving may decrease your risk of depression and depressive symptoms such as sadness or lack of energy. One study of older adults found that those who help their loved ones experience greater feelings of personal control over their lives. You know, small acts of kindness like sharing your toys or helping without being asked can greatly improve someone's day. And when we make someone happy, they feel good and they might also help someone else. It's like a chain of happiness that keeps growing. Our charity, Heart to Heart Trust, sees this every day. Every little help or donation goes a long way in making someone's life better. Today, let's see how small acts of kindness and giving can create big changes everywhere. With that being said, let's welcome Dr. Fatemah Almosawi, social entrepreneur, geneticist, and behavioral scientist. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I always have a lot of problems pronouncing when it comes to the medical field, so I do hope I
no
got
problem.
the...
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
it's fine.
Yeah. So now I want to ask you, you know, for your charitable works, what inspired you to spread the, passion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So spread the passion. I used to live in London,
MashaAllah.
and I finished several degrees there. And
MashaAllah.
coming back, I wanted to give to Kuwait, and I didn't know how to. Okay, so that was back in the day where still social media wasn't as popular as now. And I felt there was a gap, like people who are willing to give and wanting to give. And I always used to say giving is my passion. So I decided to be the middle person who connects volunteers with volunteering opportunities and develop the skills of young people so they can serve community better. Okay, so the idea came with smaller initiatives supporting existing entities to start with, until we came up with our own different initiatives, but still keeping on supporting whatever NGOs or national initiatives when they need volunteers. So I was like the connector, let's say, between people. So it came from a pain of wanting to give and not knowing where to go. And this is how we started it. It was a volunteer team, and now it's a registered non-profit company that runs different programs. So one of the initial initiatives we had was Heart to Heart.
Heart to Heart.
Yeah.
No, I am glad that you said, a lot of people want to do a lot of charitable things here in Kuwait, but they don't know how. Because I remember when I was in high school, I signed up for some charity group. I think it was with a school or some outer project, and I was giving the number where people would call to ask about things. And so many people called. They're like, we want to help, but we always don't know where to go and where to go.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you found that kind of problem and you were like, okay, I'm going to solve this kind of problem.
Over the years, we had more than 15,000 people volunteer with us.
Oh, mashallah.
And still, it's I know the demand is much bigger than what we can supply.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a very nice
Now we've just gone over Ramadan, alhamdulillah. So talk us through the activities of Ramadan, especially when it comes to the Heart to Heart, foundation.
So Heart to Heart initiative, the idea behind it is to teach children to empathize with other children and think of someone else.
Yeah.
Okay. So the idea started in Ramadan during Gurgan in particular, to get children to think of other children. So the idea is to write a letter and pack Gurgan for a child in hospital or a care ward or anywhere else.
Yeah.
Okay. So we would do these activities in different malls and different locations, getting children to pack sweets for someone else and write a nice message color. Then we incorporated that we have special needs actually pack with us, and then also do the letters and the coloring and all of that. And this has been running for over 14 years.
Oh,
and the past 3 years, we added another element in which we used wasted fabric, so fabric that tailors have extras.
Yeah.
Usually they just throw them to waste. So we collaborated with different tailors and commissioned women to create gurgan bags from those fabrics.
Oh, okay.
So now for the past 3 years, we've been reducing waste by having those very beautiful, because the fabric is new.
Yeah.
Actually, when I think about the number that is wasted each day, it really
it is.
it's a
when
pain
you think
point.
about it.
Yeah. Okay, so now we helped women to support their crafts and also reduce the impact on their environment and have children empathize. So we added extra elements, and each year we increase the number of bags that we distribute and give out. So we collaborate with different centers and different nonprofits
MashaAllah,
to deliver the bags for them. And this year, we collaborated with Sabah Salim Foundation,
Okay.
and we did a public event to pack. Unfortunately, because of the circumstances, we couldn't continue all of our events. Like we had planned events in different gardens in collaboration with the local authorities. But because of the current situation, we shifted a bit, and we just did drop-offs at the hospitals, and like we packed the remaining gurgan. But the whole idea, like still, we don't want to deprive them. I don't think we should be stopping what we're doing. Just be like doing it safer.
Doing it in a safer manner.
In a way that can support the community. And if you see just the joy that these small bags bring to people, even the message, like and we give them sometimes to also workers, nurses, like different people. So it's worth the effort.
It is, yeah. Now I love how you said that you started this idea over something that, to me, honestly, we never really think about, Girgan and everything in that kind of way, right? It's like just candies delivering to other kids in the street, and then just eat whatever is left. But to take that, simple thing that every household have, and to make a charitable idea from it, that's very admirable, right? That's very something to be proud about. So how did you come with that kind of idea, like with that kind of?
I think in life, whatever I do, I think of adding meaning to it.
Yeah.
And being a mother as well, I'm very concerned about what values I instill in my children.
Yeah.
So even the early versions of the Heart to Heart, my eldest son used to dress up as a character to entertain the children in special needs. And these kind of activities stick with children.
Yeah.
Even they take them with them as adults. So like my children always think of, and also the volunteers, like I think of some of the volunteers as my children as well. It becomes part of their day. And actually our slogan is make giving part of your living. So I want people to think, how can I give? What can I do to add value? Because I believe if everyone starts giving, then we don't have to worry about anything. If you have that kind of spirit, it's very important. And as you said earlier, it reflects on you and gives you a better mood, but it's also something that brings the community together. And in such situations, we're seeing lots of volunteers signing up for different things. And this is what can help a nation to move forward in any crisis.
It is, right. And I think that's a very beautiful message to pass on from this episode. More people do a lot more giving. It's going to be a way prettier world.
Yes,
I do thank you for taking a role in that. Now, speaking of your role in that, and from all the years that you worked in that, can you share with us your, a memorable experience, from volunteering specifically?
I had so many activities throughout the years. Like it's been more than 16 years now. But I think it's nice when I see people come back and tell me their stories.
Oh, mashallah.
Okay, so lots of people like I meet there, sometimes they were the high schoolers now having children and everything. And sometimes when they show me their children as well, it's an exciting moment. And knowing how volunteering impacted their life. So when I hear those stories, it brings me joy, and I know this is why I'm doing this. And it becomes a ripple effect. Like some people also, they started joining our activities, and then they did their own volunteer teams, which I think is beautiful. Like we want the multiplier effect to also influence that. And I tell people, I don't just have a volunteer team. I'm trying to start a movement where people will think of that. Like the seed that I'm sowing with people is making giving part of their living. So even if it's, and I tell people sometimes you have to think of your home first, that you covered all the needs, and then go out. So volunteering sometimes is also in helping your brother study or whatever. Like just the act of giving is very important to instill in people. And I think hearing the stories is what excites me the most.
Now, you did mention that the act of giving is very important to people, and especially when it comes to Kuwait. Why is community service such an important topic, especially today in today's climate?
So when people have the will to give and the capacity to, also having it organized with different teams and having a proper structure, then we can overcome any crisis. Like we saw that even in Corona, we saw that examples during the invasion, way back. So I think having that drive and that passion for giving is what brings countries back and help them to develop and move in different ways. Because when someone volunteers and gives, usually the objective is to reach a certain goal.
Yeah.
It's not about just the hours or a salary or anything like that. They want to contribute, and they're willing to also sometimes develop their skills or new skills. I have lots of volunteers that discovered they like photography, and then they moved on, or like, you know, because
it's a life-changing event.
It's a different experience than what you're used to, than just studying, because usually you study for grades.
Yeah.
You work for salary. But when you give, you want change. You
Yeah.
want to actually contribute to something bigger. And I think this is what's important. And there are lots of honorable causes, and one of them is also helping your country.
Right.
I think it's the most honorable cause. So when someone has that in them, it makes it much easier. And they don't second guess it. Like the minute they feel there's a need, they're going to be there and they're going to show up, and they're going to do their best to help.
Now, also speaking about doing your best to help, especially with how, as a country, you have gone through some troubling times, especially in today and this year, right? So how did the trouble that we've had affect this, the initiative of the Heart to Heart? I know you mentioned briefly how you had to tweak a lot of things and events due to safety measures, but can you go a little bit more into detail?
So basically, as you know, like in terms of safety, we can't have large gatherings.
Yeah.
So we stopped all the activities with larger groups. So we had some volunteers help with packing, but again, safety is always number one in whatever activity we do. So when we set up the activity, we always communicate any safety measures. And in this situation, that was the case of not having bigger gatherings, just in case something like God forbid happens.
Yeah.
So then we moved on to like doing the smaller, and like it's more drop-offs, more packing,
okay.
like,
Yeah.
But we still, like, we had different entities sponsor and support our initiative, and we have an obligation to deliver.
Yeah.
So like everything continues and life goes on, but in a way that follows the regulations and the instructions of the authorities. So we always try to align with that.
Yeah.
And so like the kind of activity and the inclusion changed, but our effort didn't. And we switched to other initiatives, like now I'm doing something else with another entity,
Yeah.
Again, when you have the habit of giving, you're going to channel it somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like it's not. And I'm very keen on kind of also helping people manage their giving. So with giving, I tell them they have to rest, they have to also, like, there are other obligations to think about, especially even their families, not just going to a team or volunteering outside. It's about having a lifestyle where giving is managed, where it's distributed properly, and you're being part of a bigger society.
Yeah. I love how you haven't taken the events to stop the initiative. You found ways to make it work, as long as it's within,
In any, like, actually one of the most important skills, like I read just recently in a report, that the #1 skill is resilience and adaptation that humans should have. So exemplifying that is very important, and leading by that is very important, because you don't want anyone to crush our spirits, or like no one's allowed to do that, and we're not going to allow anyone to do that. And this is where you try to be fully functional, because again, your country would need you at any time, and you have to be prepared in any situation.
It is, and as long as you are following all safety precautions, hopefully everything's going to be going for the better. Now, I do want to ask you about the initiative itself. Like, what impact do you hope to achieve with, such a foundation, such an initiative, such a movement?
So for us, each time is adding the different elements. So recently it was about reducing waste in the past 3 years, but it's like we try to do it in numbers and in the different entities that joined. So this year we had a corporate that actually adopted part of the initiative, and I'm hoping like in the years to come there'll be more people who can run it without me being involved, because I want to pass it on. Like I would love to have schools join every year, and like we had some, but like more and more entities joining. So then it becomes maybe a cultural thing that is attached to Gurgian and going back to our roots of responsible consumption, and how we don't waste, and also connect and gift, like the spirit of giving and gifting to be instilled in children especially.
Inshallah, and I do hope, that kind of message, reaches a member of the audience who are watching now, who are gonna, approach you and be like, okay, no, we gotta make this thing happen. because honestly, it's such a great movement. And like you said, there's a lot of candies and things that go to waste when it could be gone to making kids happier, you know,
Yes.
who are less fortunate.
Yes, and they feel the value of it when there's a story to it.
It is.
When it's just consuming blindly, it doesn't have the same impact. And I think it's very important to think about the values we instill in children.
It is. And talking about installing the values within children, I do want to thank you again for coming here and talking to us, you know, a lot about the initiative and talking to us a lot about the movements you're trying to do. I think we are running a little bit out of time for the, you know, interview, but I do want to thank you for dedicating the time out of your day to talk about it.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And now, dear viewers, also thank you for tuning in. Thank you for our guest, Dr. Fatemah Almosawi, social entrepreneur, geneticist, and behavioral scientist. We are going to take a break, so stay tuned.